Hi friends, my name is Debbie and today we're gonna be painting this cute lighthouse with the sea in the back. I thought this was really cute, a lot of texture, so I decided to give it a try. I'm gonna be using my Paul Rubens paint set and 100% cotton paper. You can use whatever you have at home, and I'm gonna be using different size brushes. I believe a number 1, a number 6, and we're gonna be doing a lot of techniques for the background, the grass, and the stones. So let's jump in and get started. We're gonna start off by putting our sky first. So really light on the color, a lot of water, not too much pigment. Um, when I say pigment, I mean the color. So you just take a little bit of your lightest blue in your palette and just put a lot of water, not too much color, lots of water. So we're gonna apply this all the way to the background where you see the sky, and we're gonna be adding a little bit more pigment or more color to the top left, because that's where the darkest color is gonna be in our picture. And I'm just applying this, trying to blend it with my big brush. This is the flat brush, and I'm just adding more color and I'm blending as I go. A little bit more blue, more concentrated color, and we're gonna blend it. If you have issues blending, you can always lift your paper towards you and let that paint kind of move around with the water. It's gonna kind of like a waterfall, is gonna cascade, and you won't have any lines when you do that. Just applying some more color. And then for the clouds, I'm gonna be using a paper towel. You're just gonna kind of squeeze it and just do some lifting, picking up some of this paint just to give some white highlight, and that's gonna represent our clouds in the background. And you can put it in some places, not the whole sky. We want to keep some of the blues in the sky, so just do some of the clouds here and there. I'm adding some more color. Remember, watercolor dries very light, so it's always good to start light and then you add more layers to it. You can always add, it's just more difficult to remove the color. It is possible, but it's more complicated. So I'm just adding a little bit more of my blue. This is the medium blue in my palette, and it's kind of towards ultramarine blue. And again, picking up my paper towel and just putting some more clouds in some areas. This is the easiest way to make clouds. There are other ways, but for me, this is the easiest. I always like to make things easy. I don't like to complicate myself. This is a painting to feel relaxed, and I try my best to do it the easiest way. Now we're gonna put our ocean. So for this one, I'm using my ultramarine blue, and I'm doing the top layer, and then we're gonna kind of blend the colors because I have some turquoise in the picture, and also a little bit of a greenish color. So I added some green to my ultramarine blue, really light on the color, and then we're gonna be adding a little bit of the green just on the bottom. And then you're gonna kind of clean your brush and go back to it and just pass it on top of your colors. Try to blend all of the colors. We don't want no hard lines. We want to make sure everything is nice and blended. We're gonna bring all the way down to where the sand is, and we're gonna keep the sand clean for now. We're gonna keep blending these colors. Try to get rid of those lines that you see over there. And then we're gonna be using our masking fluid to put on our flowers. We wanna make sure these stays nice and white, and then we're gonna be putting the color on the flowers. This is the easiest way to keep your flowers in the foreground ready. So when you're ready to put your pinks or whatever color may be your flower, that's when you're gonna remove the masking fluid, and then you're gonna put your colors. And then you don't have to worry about messing up your flowers because you're putting other colors on the paper. So this way you keep them nice and clean, and then you remove it, and then you can apply the color that you need. And make sure this is completely dry before you start applying watercolor to your paper. Make sure they are dry. You can use a hair dryer, or if you have a heat tool, that would be great. This is the time when you use it, so you make things faster. Just put in some flowers in some areas. We don't want to cover the entire place. There's some grass over there, so we just want to put in some of the places. And then for the grass, I'm using my sap green, and I'm using a quill brush, and I'm just making lines, wiggling my lines, keeping some white areas in between. We don't want to cover the entire paper. We want to keep some areas white. And we're going to bring this down to this part of the painting, and then we're going to go to the right hand side, and we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to make lines in different directions, and we're going to keep some of the white spaces. Now we're going to move to our medium color. This is my sap green. The first one was sap green with cadmium yellow, 50 and 50, and now we're using just the sap green by itself, keeping up some of those lighter colors first, and then we're adding some of my sap green with a little bit of ultramarine blue to make it a little bit on the medium side. And again, keep some of the lighter color. We don't want to cover every single grass, just few areas. And this is gonna give you the look of tall grass, and it's gonna look so dense, and that's what we want. Then we're gonna be using the same technique for the other side, just few areas. And then this is my darkest green, so I added more ultramarine blue to the mix, and this is giving me a darker color. And again, skip some areas, keep some areas with the highlight, and put some of these darker colors in a few places. Now I got my liner brush to make some really thin lines, and I added even more ultramarine blue to my mix, making it even darker. And we're just gonna make some hairlines here and there, few places. We don't want to cover everything. We want to be able to see the lighter color, the medium color, and the dark color. So most of these dark colors are gonna be in the front, because that's where I see my darkest, and then some of the right hand side. Then we're gonna be getting our credit card, and we're gonna be making some highlights in the grass. So just get your credit card, use the tip of it, and just make some line marks. Really simple. You're gonna see the highlights. I'm not sure if it's showing in the camera, but you're gonna see some of the highlights. So it's gonna remove some of the paint, and it's gonna leave some of the paper in the back, so which is white, and that's where you're gonna see some of those white hairlines with the credit card. This is a wonderful technique because it's so simple, and it gives beautiful texture, and it's just make your grass pop really nice. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side of the grass, and just you can move your hand around, put it in different directions. You don't have to follow what you see in the picture. That's just for inspiration, and you take the picture and you make your painting, your own painting. You can add your own touches to your painting and make it your own. Now for the path or the rocks, we're gonna be using our yellow ochre, really light on the ochre, a lot of water, not too much paint. And we're just gonna apply the first layer, moving all of this paint in between the grass. As you can see, some of the browns are inside the grass, so we're gonna try to do that. I'm removing some of this paint. I feel that it was too dense, and this part where the rocks are, you can see some areas there's some kind of dirt like in between the grass and your rocks. So I'm removing some of the paint, doing some lifting. You clean your brush, clean it with clean water, wipe off any excess on your paper towel or your towel, and then go back to your painting and just wiggle your brush. That's gonna be picking up some of the excess paint, and just go back to your paper towel and clean your brush. Just wiggle, wiggle here and there, and this is gonna help you remove some of the paint and make it more of the soft look, and you won't be able to see those hard lines in there from the grass. So we're just wiggling the brush, pushing that pigment inside the kind of like the grass, and then we're gonna be adding the rest of the yellow ochre to the path and pushing it towards your grass. Just push that pigment inside your grass. That's gonna help you make it look more natural, and it's gonna be more organic. And again, we're just pushing this pigment inside the grass, moving that brush, wiggle it, and then you can move some of that green that you see like a line in there. We're gonna move it and make it more soft. Bringing the same color all the way down. This is very simple. If you feel that I'm going too fast, please make sure you pause it. Take your time. You can always go back and replay it. So now I'm doing some dry brush technique, and this is just to give more texture to your rocks or your stones. And this is just paint. I didn't add any water to it. If you feel like you put too much, you can always get your paper towel and just wipe off any excess. I did some splatter just to give some more texture to my rocks or my stones. And then we're gonna be adding some more of the sap green. I feel like this part here on the path, it has more lighter colors, and I was missing that. So I'm applying some of the sap green in some areas and putting those line strokes again, just to give the look of the grass. Bringing those kind of inside your rocks. As you could see, there is some grass growing on top of the stones. So I'm trying to do that with my paint. Adding some of my burnt umber, really light on the color, lots of water, and putting some sap green on top. So we're applying this just on the edge, and if you feel like the edge is too heavy, make sure you wiggle your brush inside your grass or your bush. Adding some of more of my brown and then some of my sap green. Wiggle that brush. And we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Bringing those sap greens inside your grass. Getting rid of those lines, those hard lines, and adding some here and there. We're gonna be adding some of my browns. And try to blend it with your sap green. Don't forget to wiggle the brush. Don't go like in a straight line. And now I'm adding some salt just to give more texture to this part of the grass. What the salt is gonna do is gonna kind of repel the paint, and it's gonna give you some really nice white spots, kind of like snowflakes. but before you remove it, you have to make sure it's 100% dry. Now we're gonna use my sienna, and I'm gonna put the lines for my rocks. And they don't have to be perfect. You know, they're different sizes. Some are big, some are medium, some are small. So you make it your own. It doesn't have to be exact same as the picture. You can make your own painting. Remember, this is just to inspire you, and I'm just showing you how I would do it, but you can make it your own way. You give your own twist to your painting, and you make it your own. I'm just making some line marks, super simple, nothing complicated. Remember, this painting is for you to relax and not to be stressed out. Just bringing those lines all the way to the end. And then I added some more brown to my grass, just picking up the paint. I'm not picking up any water, so I'm just doing dry brush technique. I already removed the salt from before, and I'm adding the dry brush technique just for some more texture. And I'm just applying this in some areas. I'm not putting this on every single place. Just few areas here and there. And I'm adding a little bit more to this side. And some between the grass, just to give that taste that the dirt is inside the grass. And then I took my dark green, and I'm doing the same thing, just adding some more texture to that grass, make it pop even more, and try to blend it. We don't want like a line right there. We want to make sure everything is nice and blended. Keeping those nice blended lines, bringing some more color to this grass here and there. Really nice. It's looking really nice. Everything is coming together. And this is one of the easiest technique to give texture, is your dry brush technique. That's like my best friend. And I'm adding some to the front because that's where you see the darkest part and the whole painting. So that's what I'm trying to do on this part here. Just putting the dry brush technique in the front, blending it in between your grass. Remember to keep your highlights that we did with the credit card. We don't want to cover those. We want to be able to see those because that's giving you so much texture and it's so beautiful. Adding some to this part. I see some darker areas on this side. So I'm doing the same thing, picking up the green and doing the dry brush technique in some places. Putting it on this side a little bit more. And then I'm going back with my credit card and doing some more headlines in there. So friends, don't forget, I have an Etsy store. I have a lot of paintings that I have done here on my YouTube channel. Please look it up, and if you find something that you like, let me know. Most of my paintings, well, all of my paintings are originals. I just used a picture for reference photo, but they're my own paintings. And I hope you like it. And if you do, and if you want to purchase any, just send me a message and let me know. So I'm just adding some more hairlines with my liner brush, and this is my darker green. Remember, this is the sap green with a lot of ultramarine blue, just to make it really dark. And just adding some here in the front and some of the right hand side where you see your darker part. And just bringing those lines. Some here in the back, some of those are the ones holding the flowers. Those are like stems, so I'm putting those in the back, and some here, few places here and there. Now we're gonna remove the masking fluid. It's time for the flowers to shine, so we're removing those. And this is a special tool, but if you don't have this tool, you can use your nail or anything to just, it's kind of like a glue, so you can just remove it with your nail. And as you can see, it keeps your white super nice and clean, and then you will be able to put any color in there. For this one, I'm just using my magenta really light on the color, and then we will be applying more layers to it. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I will really appreciate it. Make sure you give it a like. When you give it a like, it helps this channel and this community to grow, so I will be able to make more content like this one, or maybe something different. If you want to leave comments and let me know what you want me to paint next, you are more than welcome to do that. I'll be reading comments, and then if there is something that you want to learn, maybe a new technique, or maybe, I don't know, different style of pictures, whatever the case may be, just let me know. So I'm still using my magenta, and like I said, it's really light. Now I'm adding some more magenta, more concentrated color to bring those flowers to life. And I'm just putting simple strokes, nothing crazy, just few strokes here and there, maybe 2, maybe 3, whatever I feel like the flower needs, that's what I'm gonna put it. And also, if you feel, you could do mixed media, which it will work great with this painting. If you have like crayons or watercolor pencils, or if you have markers, you could apply that to the flowers. It will make the flowers pop even more. If you have like a nice pink or nice magenta, maybe in crayons or maybe in markers, that would be the time to do that. You can also add some more texture to your pad with some watercolor pencils or some crayons. That would be great. And we're just putting some more layers for these tiny little flowers. Just a few more touches here and there. And don't forget the one in the back. They're all the way in the back, but we're gonna put it in. Just put in some more color. And then I'm just putting the darker green for the stems. Just few places. Adding those stems. They don't have to be completely straight. They could be a little bit with a curve. It doesn't matter. It's just to show that they're not floating in the air. Then for my lighthouse, I did a mix of ultramarine blue and burnt umber. Sorry, burnt umber. And it's 50%, 50%, lots of water, a lot of water. And we want to keep it light. So we're just going to apply this on the left hand side. That's where my shadow is. And making this diagonal line. And then we will be adding some water to the right, just to make sure we blend that gray. We don't want a line. We want to make sure everything is blended. So I'm just picking up some of the paint, and then I have another mix with a little bit more pigmented color. The exact same colors, just more paint, less water. And I'm just applying this to the left hand side, bringing the color all the way down. And then I realized that I forgot to paint this part of the sky, so I'm just adding the same color from the sky in some areas of the lighthouse that I just skipped, but I'm applying that now. Make sure you let it dry before you start painting the rest of the lighthouse, so your paint won't move. Just a few places here and there. And make sure every time you put your blue for the sky, you blend it. Remember, it was a very light color, so make sure you blend it. Then I'm adding some of my white. This is my bleed proof white, and I'm just using dry brush technique again. So I'm just picking up the paint, I'm not adding any water, and I'm going flat on the paper. My brush is completely flat on the paper, and I'm just putting those white little splashes that you see in the picture. That's what I'm doing on my painting. Just few places, not too much. We will be adding some more texture to the water. So for now, we're just doing the white. And if you don't have that one, you can use watercolor, really concentrated, or you can use like a Sharpie. They have some white Sharpies. Also, you can use like acrylic markers if you have that, or maybe a white crayon if you have it. And we're just putting this some really tiny places, not too much. Then for the water, we're gonna use the same color, and we're just gonna make some random lines here and there. Just kind of wiggle your brush, don't go like straight lines, and skip some areas. You don't want like continuous line because it's just gonna look weird. It won't look natural because the water doesn't move like that. So just wiggle your brush here and there and skip some areas. Keep it clean in some areas. And I'm just using the same colors that we did. It's the exact same colors. And as you can see, I wiggle my brush a little bit and I skip some areas, and it's gonna make your water look so natural. It looks like the water is moving, the waves are there, the waves are coming. It's looking really nice. So now I made it a more concentrated gray. So that means I added more paint, less water, and I'm just applying this lighter version to some areas where the lightest gray are. And then I'm gonna be making a darker mix to do the shadows for my lighthouse. So first we do the light, and then we apply the shadow. And remember, in this picture, your shadow is on the left hand side. The light side, it will be on your right. So that's the side we're gonna keep nice and light. The left is the one that we're gonna put our darkest color. They're gonna be on your left. And just moving that paint. If you have too much paint, remember, have a paper towel handy and just wipe off any excess. And if your paint moves because everything is wet, you can always clean your brush with clean water, wipe it in the paper towel, and then come back to your paint and kind of lift that paint. It's kind of removing the paint that you put on. And I'm using the darker color here. I'm going back to it to make sure it's pretty dark. Going around. Try to go around the same shape as you had before, so it gives the shape of the lighthouse. It shows that the lighthouse is going around. It's not flat. It's like a kind of like a, how you call that, like a cylinder. So make sure you keep those curves. Then I did some lifting here because this part is supposed to be lighter. And then I'm gonna use my light gray for this part of the lighthouse. Wiping off any excess and removing some of that extra paint. Then picking up some more paint. And I'm gonna put this in the center. That's where the light is for the lighthouse. Putting the little tiny piece in there. I'm gonna clean up my brush and then We're gonna wipe off any excess, and then we're gonna go to the window, and I'm gonna use my lightest gray first, and then we're gonna build up the colors as we go. We will be putting the darker gray in the center, like you can see in the reference photo, and just putting those shadows in the window. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. This is just an inspiration piece. So don't feel stressed out if you cannot get it right. If your painting looks different than mine, it's okay. It's your painting. You're giving your own touches to your own painting. It doesn't have to be exact same as mine. We're gonna wipe off any excess and continue with those lines for the window. We're trying to make it really simple, stress-free, and any excess, just remove it with your clean brush. And this is my size number 3. That's my number 3 brush. But of course you can use any brush that you have at home. You don't have to buy any brush. Whatever brush you have, that's what you're going to be using. Remember to wipe off any excess, removing that extra paint, going around, picking up some more if you need it. Remember, in watercolor you can always add. It's just more difficult to remove. So now I'm doing some dry brush technique for some more texture on the lighthouse. As you can see, it has kind of like bricks. So I'm trying to get some texture to the lighthouse for the wall. And then we will be using the micron. If you don't have that one, you can use a Sharpie. I'm going to be using, I believe was the number 3. And it's a really thin pen. And I'm just going to make those lines pop even more. And I'm going to give more definition to my building. It also helps because it makes your painting looks more like an illustration, which I love. I think that's one of my favorite things to do. I love painted buildings. I have done it so many times, and I have so many buildings here in my own collection that I have not posted on YouTube, but I do have a lot. I also sometimes do little gifts for my friends. If it's like a birthday or anniversary, I will take a picture of their house and paint their house, or I would do something like that for them, something that is special and they cannot find somewhere else. That's what makes, a painting really special, because you can make so many different personal things for people, and they will appreciate that more than any gift. You can go to any store and buy a present, but when you make something with your own hands, I believe people appreciate that more. So I'm just putting those marks here on my lighthouse. Really simple. I'm just going around bringing those lines back to life, and I decided to add the line on the outside. I feel like it makes my lighthouse pop, and it just brings it back to life. It also helps to push my water to the back and bring the lighthouse to the front. And I'm putting the same thing here on my window, just making those simple lines. Sometimes I use more pressure, sometimes I use less pressure. If I want thin lines, I use less pressure. If I want thicker lines, then I put more pressure. So you can make it as you go. And just finishing this window. And then I decided to add some lines just to show more interest to the lighthouse texture, to the wall, few lines, not completely to the other side, just kind of like in between, just really thin lines. And then we're gonna bring this down also, so we make those look alike bricks. And remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. We are not trying to make perfection here. We're just trying to enjoy the process and have a good time when we're painting. Try to relax, so no stress. Just making those little lines like dots. And then I decided to add my crayons. Like I was telling you, this is gonna give you more texture to your flowers and also help you make them pop. They kind of got lost in the painting, so I decided to put some more color in there. This is my lightest pink. Just adding some here and there, few places, not too much. And then this is my dark green, and I just decided to add a little bit more color to the front where I see that dark area, and some here on the back, and some on the right hand side where I have some of the darkest areas inside the grass. Just few lines. So pretty much we're done. We're doing the final details. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you give it a like, and I will see you on my next one. Take care, friends. Bye bye for now.